Have you ever stopped to think about that voice in your head? The voice that comments, criticizes, judges, the voice that tells you what to do or sometimes what not to do. We are accompanied by it all the time, so much that we assume it is someone else. But what if I told you that this mental chat, this constant narrative, is not actually you? Think about this. From the moment you wake up, your mind begins to speak. Get up, you have a lot to do today. Why did you say that yesterday? You should have tried harder. It's a constant dialogue, a background noise that, although we sometimes ignore it, never stops. But have you ever wondered who listens? If you are the one speaking, then who is listening? Let me take you to an unsettling place. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a place completely silent, with no thoughts, no judgments, no words. It's just you in that pure space, with no mental noise. Who are you? Where does that internal chat, which seems to have so much control over your life, go? There's something many don't want to face. That voice, that mental chat, is not the essence of who we truly are. It is just an echo, a construction, a reflection conditioned by years of experiences, fears and expectations. But we, the ones behind it, are something much deeper, much more mysterious. Now pay attention to this. When you feel anxious, what is it that really overwhelms you? It's not the event itself, but the interpretation that your mind gives it. That voice that magnifies the consequences, that repeats to you, "This will be a disaster." And here's the terrifying revelation. That voice doesn't seek to help you, it seeks to control you. It is the filter through which you experience reality, and most of the time, that filter is distorted. Let me tell you something fascinating. Neuroscientists have discovered that most of our thoughts are not conscious but automatic. It's like your mind is a program running in the background, repeating patterns and beliefs that you didn't even choose. That mental chat is a habit, not your true self. But there's something even more disturbing. That internal dialogue can be your worst enemy, friend, or your most powerful ally. It all depends on whether you choose to identify with it or not. Because the real trap is believing that that voice is all you are, when in reality, you are so much more. You are the observer, the silent witness, who stands behind the constant chatter. Think about the moments when you've suffered the most. Isn't it true that much of the pain came from the thoughts that arose? Thoughts like, "This will never get better," or "I'm not enough." That mental chat creates stories, and those stories shape how you see the world and how you see yourself. But here's the key, you are not those stories. There are ancient cultures that have understood this secret for centuries. In Buddhism, for example, it is taught that suffering arises from attachment to those thoughts. Meditation, an ancient practice, is nothing more than an exercise to observe that internal chat and learn not to identify with it. Because the moment you stop reacting to every thought that arises, you free yourself. But you don't have to be a monk to experience this freedom. You just need to pause and observe. The next time a negative thought arises, stop. Ask yourself, is this real, or is it just my mind playing with me? By doing so, you begin to break the spell, to dismantle the illusion that your mental chat is the entirety of who you are. I want you to remember something. You are not the voice. You are the one who listens to it. And in that moment when you separate from it, you begin to regain control of your life. Because the true magic happens when you stop being trapped in the stories you tell yourself and begin to live from a deeper, more authentic place. Throughout this video, we'll explore how mental chat takes control, how it distorts our perception, and most importantly, how we can free ourselves from it. Because the first step to reclaiming your power is realizing that that voice is not you. And when you manage to do that, you'll discover a world of possibilities. Are you ready for this journey into the unknown? Continue with me, because by the end of this video, not only will you have learned to identify the voice of your mind, but you'll also understand how to reconnect with your true being. And believe me, what you find in that silence is far greater than you could ever imagine. The true mystery is not in the stars or the deepest oceans. It is in our own minds, in that voice that never stops, that voice that narrates, judges, compares, remembers, and plans. But tell me, have you ever wondered where it comes from? Why sometimes it seems to sabotage you, or worse yet, why it seems to know you better than you know yourself? I'm about to reveal something that could change the way you see life. That mental chat, which sounds so familiar, is not you, but it has been with you for so long that you've started to believe it. Isn't that unsettling? It's as if you've been living with a stranger inside of you, someone who speaks with your voice, who uses your memories and your desires, but deep down is nothing more than an imposter. Imagine you're in a room with a friend. This friend never stops talking. They tell you what you did wrong yesterday, what you could do better tomorrow, and they make sure to remind you of every time you failed in the past. How long could you tolerate it before you got tired? Now think that that same voice lives in your head. And the worst part is, you listen to it without questioning it, as if everything it says were the absolute truth. But here's the secret. That voice has no real power unless you give it power. Every time you accept its criticism, every time you get lost in its worries or fears, you give it strength. However, there's a way out. You can learn to observe it, disarm it, and finally silence it. I'm going to tell you a story. It's about a woman named Anna. Anna had a seemingly perfect life, a good job, friends, a family that loved her. But every night when she went to bed, that voice appeared. It whispered her insecurities and reminded her of her mistakes. "You're not enough," it told her. "You'll never be." And Anna believed it. That voice controlled her, stole her peace, and kept her trapped in a cycle of doubt and self-criticism. One day, Anna decided that she couldn't keep living this way. She started researching, looking for answers. And it was then when she discovered something that changed everything. She was not that voice. She understood that the mental chat was like a computer program running in the background, fueled by years of limiting beliefs and past experiences. But when she realized this, something inside her changed. She began to observe the voice instead of reacting to it. And over time, that voice lost its power. Anna's case is not unique. We all have an internal voice, one that can be our greatest critic or our best ally. But the trick is in learning to distance ourselves from it. Because the more space you give to that voice, the less space remains for your true self. The one that is at peace, the one that knows what is right without needing to be told. Now, I want you to do an exercise with me. The next time a negative thought arises in your mind, stop. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Just observe it, as if you were a spectator watching a movie. Ask yourself, where does this thought come from? Is it really mine, or is it just an echo from the past? You'll be surprised at what you discover. Many times those thoughts don't even make sense. They are like leaves carried by the wind, useless, fleeting. The key to freeing yourself from this mental chat is not in fighting it, but in stopping identifying with it. When you manage to separate from that voice, you realize that you are much more than your thoughts. You are the space in which those thoughts appear, and in that space there is freedom. Think about this. If that voice were really you, you wouldn't be able to observe it. You wouldn't be able to question it. But you do, don't you? That is the ultimate proof that you are the observer, not the observed. And that simple shift in perspective has the power to transform your life. So who are you really? That is the question that has brought us here. And now, after this journey through the shadows of your mind, I hope you've started to understand something fundamental. You are not that mental chat. You are so much more than that voice that tells you who you should be, what you did wrong, or what you should fear. You are the space where that voice arises. You are the silent observer who, despite the constant noise, is always there, present. Imagine for a moment what it would be like to live without letting that voice control your emotions, your decisions, your life. Do you realize the weight you could release? It wouldn't be the end of your thoughts because thinking is natural, but it would be the end of the control those thoughts have over you. I want you to remember something powerful. You don't have to believe everything you think because in reality, you are not the sum of your thoughts. You are the consciousness that observes them, and that consciousness is free. It always has been. It was just waiting for you to realize it. From now on, whenever that voice whispers something that makes you doubt yourself, something that awakens your fears or makes you feel small, stop, breathe, and say aloud, I am not that voice. I am the one who listens to it. Because that simple act of distancing yourself will return to you a power you may not have known you had lost. Mental chat is like a narrator of a book. It can tell the story of your life in many ways. It can make everything seem like a tragic drama or an epic adventure. But you are the author. You decide if you allow that voice to enslave you or if you take control of the narrative. So now that we've reached the end of this journey, I want to leave you with a reflection. The next time you find yourself trapped in your thoughts, ask yourself, who is listening? That question, although simple, has the power to pull you out of the mental trance that so many of us live in, and little by little, you'll begin to see life in a completely different way. Before we say goodbye, I want to ask you an unsettling question, one that I'd love for you to answer in the comments. If that voice isn't you, then who are you really? I want you to leave your answer down below in the 1400 comments. It doesn't matter if it's brief or extensive, write it from the heart because this space is a community of seekers, people like you who are exploring the deepest corners of the human mind. And if this journey has resonated with you, if it has made you reflect, or at least made you question something you once took for granted, subscribe to this channel. It's a refuge for restless minds, for those searching for answers beyond the surface. And don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss the upcoming videos, because what's coming will be even deeper and more transformative. And to finish, if you want to take away a small task from this video, do this. When you're caught by a negative thought, stop, smile and say, "Thank you for your opinion, but I don't need it." That simple phrase is like a key that can open the door to mental freedom. Remember, the abyss of your thoughts does not define you. You are the one who decides whether to stay at the edge or take a step toward freedom. See you in the next video.